Welcome to the podcast where my guests and I talk about anything and everything from sports, relationships, politics, movies to TV shows, current events, and conspiracy theories. No topic is ever off limits, and it's always uncensored. I'm Ben Borges, and this is Man Chatter. Ladies and gentlemen, we are back. I got a guest today with me. He's going to be joining me from time to time. He's got his own setup. He's actually going to be starting a podcast with his son, which I named Son and a Half. I feel like that's a legit name. That's done. Like, tell Javi that's what it is. I've known this guy. We've known each other, 25 years? Like 20 to 25 years around there.
Yeah, man, since I was in like 7th or 8th grade.
Yeah, so we've known each other since we were playing street ball before like video games took over the world. Like, we were still playing outside. I remember story. I could give you guys stories about me and this guy playing 2-on-5. I was all-time quarterback and he was receiver, and we were killing like these little jits.
Tony's broken arm.
Yeah, legit. We broken arms playing street football. Yeah, man. It's my boy Jonathan Vallejo, aka GW. You know what? Let's just start it right there. Where did you get that nickname from, bro? Yeah, no, we're going in right there. Like, people can see you make that face. This is on video.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh, no, yeah. I know how it works. I got a camera in front of me. So, I was going to give you the information anyway, but since I saw the intro during your last episode, I knew we were going to hit it probably right at the beginning. So, I think it was summer between 6th and 7th grade, I believe.
Uh-huh.
And I used to go to summer school every year up until high school. My stepdad was like, he would tell me, hey, you're not staying home doing nothing. And it was like an off season, so there was nothing for me to do. So he's like, you're either going to go to school or I'm going to find something for you to do, and you're not going to like it. So I was in summer school. I don't even remember what class I was taking, probably Spanish. And I was sitting behind a friend of mine named Ariel. I think you know Ariel.
Yeah. Or those of you that speak Spanish is Ariel, right?
Ariel.
If
you remember, he's the one that hooked us up with the pizzas when I had that house party, like my senior year. Like we had like 15 or whatever.
Yeah, are you talking about the time I was drunk as shit and the cops busted in?
Yeah. That time where we all ended up at Denny's.
Yes. You had the Ford Focus. So right?
I had the Ford Probe.
Ford Probe, yeah. We got to talk about that. Hey,
but the cops are like 21. They were flirting with like the 18-year-old girls, so they didn't say anything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that Ariel. So I'm in this summer school class, and I'm saying something to I can't remember the girl's name. I think it was Madi. I don't know what we're talking about, but obviously I'm whispering because we're in class, and this teacher, she was already on my case. And she couldn't hear me, so I'm like, whatever, whispering to her. And he's like, I can't hear you. And Ariel goes, bro, what the? He's like, I'm sitting right next to you, and I can't hear you. He goes, that is like the gayest whisper I've ever heard. And he goes, gay whisper. That's what I'm going to call you. GW. And you know what? You wouldn't have known had I not told you this story years ago.
Yeah.
I don't even know why.
So I think how it
shared that with you, because 25 years later, you're letting your people know about this damn nickname that hasn't one of my email addresses. It stuck with me so much that one of my email addresses is GW dot whatever, because I named one of my businesses that I opened GW Enterprises. It's been closed down, but that's how I registered the business name.
That's amazing. I think how I heard the story was, probably decades ago. I think we were with Marlon, one of our friends from back in the day, and the story just kind of came up. Like, he called you GW. I was like, yo, who's GW? And it just kind of went from there. I was like, I felt like I said it on my last podcast. Like, I felt bad that I hadn't given you a nickname. That one's just kind of stuck because you don't need another one after GW. Like, you can't top that. You can't have that many aliases. You know what I mean? You can't top that. That's number one. That's the Tom Brady of nicknames. That's numero uno. It is. Like, legit. GW's fucked up. Especially if you were trying to talk to a girl and you were whispering too low, and then it just stuck for the rest of your life. Because I'm gonna remind people.
I was trying to help her in class. She wanted the answer to something, and then she, of course, she fucking laughed right along with Ariel.
Yeah.
And when it stuck, that was 7th grade, or between 6th and 7th grade. Jesus Christ.
God damn. I mean, that's such a crazy time to forget. Like, think about who you are at that age, right? Like, you're getting like flushed with like testosterone and all that shit, and you're trying to talk to a girl, and then that kind of happens. That'll shut you down, man. That'll shut you down for a little bit. Like, yo, like this is crazy.
Yeah, I know, but I don't think you ever brought it up. You like to bring it up every once in a while, but not in crucial circumstances. So
what are we talking about? OGW.
GW.
Yeah, I mean you can't bring it out all the time, because then it just loses its power. You know what I mean? You gotta let it simmer there for a while. You can't just cook it all. You can't just cook it all the time. But yeah, man. So yeah, it's my brother, man. So we were talking about earlier, like we've been discussing throughout the day, like what we're gonna talk about on the podcast. And obviously the story of the last like 7 to 10 days is Antonio Brown. Where like this has to be the craziest. Like I'm thinking back, because watching like the first takes and all this stuff, like this has to be the craziest time like an athlete has done this like consecutively, right? Like obviously you had the TOs every couple seasons, he do some wild shit, like with Tony Romo and Donovan McNabb crying in the press conferences. That's my quarterback, with the glasses on. I mean, but I've never seen anybody act like this. And then these last couple of days, you have the news breaking of him like being sued for sexual assault. Like this crazy, bro.
Bro, I'm reading through the civil case, like as you're talking, because it's crazy. I have the civil complaint open, and it's it's nuts. It's nuts. And then the text messages come out that you sent me this a couple of days ago. I'm like, what is this? I'm like, is this some Black Adam Schefter stuff? Like, what's going on?
Yeah, it doesn't seem real.
You're like, no, that's huh?
That's legit. Yeah, it doesn't seem real.
Yeah. I was like, no, this can't be real. I was like, come on. And sure enough, like I went online and pulled up every news article within, an hour, 40 minutes.
Mm-hmm. I mean, let's preface this all with saying allegedly. Like I don't want to end up being sued for some, you know what I mean? Because Antonio Brown got money and Drew Rosenthal is his agent. Let's just call it with allegedly, and that's just what that is. Like allegedly he did all these things, but there's screenshots of the text messages. There's the whole civil complaint. John, I'm gonna let you go ahead and read the text messages and the civil complaint for the people so they hear it. This is screenshots of what Antonio Brown sent his agent, or no, his trainer, right? That's what she was. She was his trainer. I don't want to say her name because I don't want to put her out there.
Is that the one you sent me?
Yeah. She was crazy, bro. Like it was like, who says that in a text like that, bro? I think it was even worse, like an email. Like who types out an email?
No, man, look, I thought it was fake for real, because I was like, there's no way. I was like, this is who puts themselves out like that? Like you should know better.
Yeah, I know. Go ahead.
Hold on. I'm trying to pull it up.
It's crazy.
I had the civil complaint. Oh man. Dude, where did I lose it?
Hold on. I think I
there's no way I erase it.
No, you better not have erased that. Hold on. Oh, here we go. I got it. Yo, so this is from Antonio Brown. There's no subject. Ladies, I just want to apologize for the graphic nature of what's about to happen right here. I jacked my dick on your back, slept with you in bed. Fuck your knowledge, bitch. I've been all pro before I even knew you. What does that even? First of all, what does that even mean? Like all pro what? Like you're busting out your Hall of Fame speech? What?
I don't know.
You hit me up online, bitch, crying. I didn't hit you up. You never left my house since you had a hotel. You fell asleep on my couch. Fuck out of here, my baby mama. This is in English, so I'm struggling.
This is the part that got me right here. We talk about.
Yeah, fuck out of here, my baby mama. Trick your dumb ass. Blast me. You're a failure. Telling everybody you own a gym. What you gonna blast? Don't fucking write my phone line. Lion, is it lean? Because that's lean, right? Lien.
Yeah, I think he meant line.
Yeah, I know he meant lion. Lion bitch thought it was easy to get a come up using God alias fake ass hoe, and your mama thought y'all hoes. What? And you and your mama thought y'all hoes had a come up. Fuck out of here. Don't write my team. Like what? Yo, on an email, bro. On an email. Like this is like you look at this screenshot. That's a legit email.
Yeah.
This guy wrote it. Now look, this is the other part of it. Thanks for giving us control over your life for 3 weeks. Next time you and your mama plot on a come up, again, like this is, if this is real, he basically said he did it. This isn't an OJ situation where he wrote the book after the fact. Like
right.
This is him saying like, yo, y'all trying to come up on me, and all this happened. So if you put yourself, he's already putting himself in the same location as her. What else do you need to prove, right? Like sexual assault is a hard thing to prove to begin with, but you're putting yourself in the room, and you're saying you did this to her. Like what else do you need to do? Like that's pretty clear cut right there. If that's true.
He didn't say he did it against her will.
Yeah, but that doesn't matter. Like now it becomes his word against hers, right? But she has screenshots and text messages and emails. Like all those texts, all that stuff can be taken one way or another, especially in this climate.
Yeah, man. I mean, I know that you get heated and you do or say stuff, or you'll type a message and you hit send when you shouldn't. But this dude's got a legal team. Like he's got too much money to lose. I don't understand how.
I don't understand how you like. Listen, let's be crystal clear about this shit. Neither one of us have ever been professional athletes in any form or fashion, right? Like that's so we don't know what that life and those problems bring, right? Like let's be clear about that. But the fact that you've seen other people be dragged down by different shit, like you've had players kill themselves. Like I think Steve McNair, right? Like he ended up like killing himself because like his girlfriend was leaving him, like before his wife or some shit, right? Like,
and that came out of nowhere. That I was like, what?
Yeah, that was before like social media was even a thing. Like that was a thing we had to wait like on ESPN for. You know what I mean? Like like
that was before like Twitter and everything, where you would get everything like right away.
Exactly. Like it was. So you see that and you hear these horror stories, and I guess there's that level of ignorance and the level of like, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. Like you have to put yourself in situations where you're not. That's not even a possibility. That's why, completely unrelated, Leonardo DiCaprio does it the right way, yo. He gets a non-disclosure agreement with every girl he dates. Son, like
I found out about that only a few months ago. I don't know if it was like Joe Rogan talking about it or somebody, maybe a comedian, and I heard him. I was like, what? And he gets an NDA from every single one of them.
That's genius. Like you signed that, you've consented to everything that's, you know what I mean? Like also it's a little scary because what the fuck kind of relationship are you in that you need an NDA? Right. Like I couldn't even bring like an N, a D, and an A to my wife like that. Like, you want to sign this? Like, no, bitch, fuck out of here. She whooped my ass. She's a very violent woman. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, man, like that's like you have to do things differently if you're on that level of money and in that platform. Like, but he's in that email again. If it's true, right? We're all going off this hypothetical, allegedly situation. Like I don't know. Only 2 people know what happened. So you have to be better in knowing those situations. Like you can act the ass for the Pittsburgh Steelers, for the Raiders. I don't give a shit. Like that's not a team I care about.
Yeah, I don't give a shit. I mean, like get your money. I don't care about that.
Yeah, I don't give a shit that you lost.
Act however you're gonna act.
Yeah, I don't care. Like that's not a thing that like makes me like, yeah, you're stupid because you're losing $30 million potentially, or 20 million, or 25, because this year's only with New England's only like 5 million guaranteed, with possible incentives to 9. So you might have lost $21 million because of your actions. That's on you. I could give a fuck less. I don't care. But like in these situations, though, like and she's coming after you for your money, like that's messing with your livelihood, man. And then he recorded John Gruden against his like unknowingly. Like he can get a serve a year. Like, yo, what are you doing right now? I guess the biggest topic of conversation. It's the worst receiver actions I've ever seen.
He needed to get out of Oakland though. That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, but Pittsburgh did a dumb deal with them because they got worse trade draft picks back than they would have got with New England. because when New England they were going to give them like a first and a third, and they ended up getting like a third and a fifth. So just if he was going to end up in New England anyway, you could have got a first round pick, and you're going to need it because you're basically trash now in Pittsburgh.
Hey, I'm glad you're keeping up with that and not me. I used to be like deep into like let's see what's his third string QB doing this week, and how's he gonna be? Like I used to know all that stuff, and then I stopped. I stopped. I watch football now or basketball or anything just like as like it's entertainment. It's like if it's like watching a movie.
Yeah. No, I don't watch the Browns because they're garbage. Yeah, I only know about it as much as I do because I'm in a group chat where like all my friends talk about it. Like I get the information from them, so I'm just reciting what they've told me and the information they've given me. Like I don't follow it like I used to. Like I used to be into like who's the third string defensive end for Miami that might have a breakthrough. Like it was stupid back in the day. Like I'm still obsessed with the Miami Hurricanes. Like that's my one team, but even that is just like I don't follow recruiting as much as I used to.
Right.
And I just kind of watch it for enjoyment, except for Saturday, which when Miami lost. But yeah, like it's just I guess I've gotten more. I don't want to say obsessed because it's not, but like I've started to follow more politics and learning how people talk. You know what I mean? Like how people talk about it and all that stuff. And we were talking about that right before we started recording. So we're not like I said it on my last podcast as a disclaimer. I'm not gonna respond to back and forth on social media because I've learned that you're not actually listening in that conversation, right? Like I'm always down to like discuss it on my podcast and have like the nuance and the caveats that you're not gonna get with somebody trying to win the argument and get the drop mic moment on you on social media. You know what I mean? Because they're like they've had time
social
to research.
Media, right?
You know?
Yeah, Facebook, you got you on one side, and then you got the other person, and they got 15 tabs open doing their research, and you drop a 5-paragraph essay. Bam.
Yeah.
Like no one's trying to talk. It's just like, here's my point. Go ahead and give me yours, but I'm not listening. I'm gonna give you some more of my point of view.
Exactly.
And I mean, I lean more left than I do right, but I'm somewhere in the middle. Like some things maybe because I'm older and have some money, so I'm a little bit more conservative on some things, but most things I'm left leaning, but I wouldn't say I'm like a bleeding heart liberal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'd like to have conversations with people like, okay, you feel that way? Like,
why?
Let me know why. Like, I'll tell you why I feel this way. This is how it came up. These have been my experiences, and that's why I feel the way I do. And I've had some good conversations with people, and they're like, yeah, I'm not trying to change anybody's, point of view. And they're like, yeah, well, this is why I'm a conservative or why I support President Trump. And I'm like, okay, I mean, I get it. This is why I don't. But we talk. And I still disagree with them, but I'm like, okay, I mean, that's how you feel. That's your experience, and that's why you feel the way you do. That's fine. And but a lot of times it's just people like just freaking a fire hose of just here's what I think. I don't care what you think, and no one's listening to anyone. So it gets old.
Yeah. So when I realized that it just got to be too much, because I stopped posting as much politics like in the last couple months. Like I'll post memes and like funny, you know what I mean? I mean, you follow me.
Yeah.
Like I used to go on my rants and stuff like that, but then I was like, man, like I'm bringing this toxicity to my, to my page, and it's just like, and you go into you check your Facebook and there's all these notifications of people going on. I was like, okay. So then what I started doing, because I still wanted to have that discussion, right? It was never to like attack somebody's ideas, because that way you're not getting anything of it. I mean, like it's the same way I want to do it. Like it's why I started this podcast. It's like to get people with differing opinions, and I want to understand why is it that you think that way? Why is it that you think you have the right to do this over? You know what I mean? Like just have that understanding. But what I've in my small anecdotal evidence of it is like a lot of people don't speak from their own experiences, right? Like they're speaking to like what's told to them that's happening, because they've never seen Chicago. You know what I mean? Like they've never been to Chicago to know what it's like. I have friends that live in Chicago. None of them are gang members shooting up everybody, having like the quote unquote, you know what I mean? Like there's also that, like so it's like it's people who are spewing out or
Well, it's
regurgitating.
talking points.
Yeah, right. Like it's not anything that they've actually experienced. It's not like,
Right.
because when they look at that, like, oh yeah, I'm friends with Mexicans. You know what I mean? Or I'm friends with black people. Like they don't
Right.
look at it through that lens. They look at it like, yeah, Mexicans are here trying to take over. Like what, bro? Like you just hung out with Juan last week. Like, and he was cool then. Like nothing changed, bro. Like that person didn't become a bad person and a drug dealer or a bad hombre in that time frame when the last time you were at a barbecue with him. You know what I mean? Like it's this fear
Yeah.
mongering, regurgitating shit that like doesn't make sense to me. Like it just
Yeah, it's like you said.
good.
Yeah, it's like you said. People are just gonna say whatever it is they want to say, and they have talking points, and it's already been established by whatever news outlet they watch or listen to,
Mm-hmm.
and they just kind of repeat that same stuff that's been said over and over with no real like experience behind it. It's just like this is it.
Yep.
Like, okay, I mean, and not everyone's like that, but I've
Of course.
run into people that are, and it's soured. Like, I don't even get into politics anymore. I used to follow politics. And now it's just like, what's the point? Like, I'm
Yeah.
gonna go make my money. I'm going to raise my kids as best as I can,
Mm-hmm.
and give them an opportunity to do whatever it is they want to do when they get older. And hopefully in 10 years, if I can retire early,
Yeah.
I'm getting the hell up out of here, going to Spain, going to the Philippines, going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with this country. I love the US. I love it, but I'm ready to like move on and go do something else.
Yeah. Yeah. Like, and when people hear that, so for you guys that don't know, myself and Jonathan are both veterans, right? So we're coming from a different perspective. I don't want to say, like, I was thinking about this earlier. I don't want to say that we have a bigger voice than most people, but I think a lot of times, like, the words that comes from veterans gets muted because you're supposed to be this monolith of like America always. You know what I mean? Like
patriotism.
Yeah, patriotism and all this stuff. Patriotism is a big blanket of whatever you want it to be. You know what I'm saying? Like it's not this.
It's a good marketing term.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's not this. It's not this one thing that like that's what you got to believe in. That doesn't, because that doesn't make sense. Like patriotism, right. The reason why I joined was 9/11. You know what I mean? Like, and also because I needed to get the fuck out of the situation I needed to get out of. I mean, like I got kicked out of high school. I didn't finish. I got kicked out of high school. I went to Job Corps and I needed to do this. It was out of necessity. Then you have patriotism with your battle buddies. I mean, the people you're serving with, because those are the people you want to make sure they come home. You know what I mean? And you lose friends and all that stuff. That's the version of patriotism that really resonates with soldiers and airmen and Marines. You know what I mean? Like a lot of people don't have a real definition of patriotism. And you can't be told what it is, because when you serve and you take that oath, it becomes a different beast. It becomes a different animal altogether. You know what I mean? One thing I was gonna tell, like before I went on that patriotism rant, give me 1 second. So one of the reasons why I stopped talking politics, I was talking to one of my friends. I'm not gonna say his name on here. I was going back and forth about. I'll give the example, and if he watches, he knows who he is. It was going back and forth about the Eric Garner thing, right? About the cop who was eventually fired like 5.5 years later. And this guy was like coming to the defense of it and like giving excuses. I was like, yo, but like the department said that move, the chokehold was illegal. Like nothing else should matter about that. Like in the military, you can't do a bunch of shit that you can go to jail for. Like in the military has like crazy rules. Like if you get caught doing any other position than missionary, you can go to jail for adultery. You can go to, you know what I mean? Go to jail for like pissing hot. You can go to jail for a plethora of different things that you don't go to jail for in the outside world, like because those are the rules that you took an oath for. Like you read the department guidelines and said, yo, you can't do a chokehold, and then you did it, and somebody died, and then you're back here 5.5 years later debating whether or not that was good. Like I'm like, there's no point here then.
It's pretty straightforward. Hold on, I gotta say goodnight to my son. Come on, bud. Man, love you. Get some rest, okay? I'll check on you later. Okay. Good night.
Wow, that's what's up, man. But yeah, you know what I mean? It's pretty straightforward after that. Like there's nothing else to say. Like if I have to argue black and white with gray, then I got nothing else, man. Like I'm done here. Like it's
exactly. Like how straightforward do you want it to be? That's pretty clear cut.
Yeah, like that's it. Like that's all I need. Like after that, I was like, you know what, man? Like it doesn't matter anymore. Like some people just completely believe in authority and can't understand why somebody would question it. which is one of the problems I had in the military. I was like, yo, if I had somebody in charge of me that was a dumbass, I was like, yo, like you're clearly here just because of PT. Like, it's not because you're a good, you know what I mean? Like, you know those
right.
people.
You're a PT stud and you got promoted.
Yeah, exactly. You're not an actual leader. Like, let's get two things very clear. I got in trouble for that one time, but it is what it is. You know what I mean? Like, I like having the conversation. Where I was like, man, I'm really having a debate with somebody who's like, I'm not even telling you it was wrong, which it was. The department, the NYPD said, yo, man, you can't do this. And you did it. And then you're mad because the guy got fired 5 years later and still collected a paycheck. Later. 5 years later. Like, that's crazy.
Did he collect the? Yeah. Jesus.
Yeah, he was still on duty. Like, he got his, I think he can't get his pension. But dude, a guy is dead. Like, again, like, I don't want to rehash it, but like, Eric Garner died because he tried to stop a fight. That's why there was a comment there, because two other people were fighting and he was trying to stop it, and they thought he had something to do with it. Then after the fact, they brought up the whole, but he sold loose cigarettes. So he deserved to die? Like, what? Because he sold somebody a Newport?
Sounds reasonable.
You know what I mean? Sounds legit. Like, what? Like, after that, I was like, yo, like, there's no point. And that was after years, mind you. The whole political argument started in 2015, right? Like, late 2015 and all this. So it was a good 3.5 years of me bashing my head up against the fucking wall and arguing with people, including my own family, sometimes including my own mother. You know what I mean?
I've seen it.
Like, yo, like, what is going on here? I was like, Mom, like, you could be one of the people they're talking about. Like, you don't speak English that well. Like, you think people aren't going to look at you sideways?
Right.
I've told her that. That's the only reason I'm saying it. I'm only saying that on this podcast because of that. Because I'm terrified of my mom. Let's just be 100% clear. I've told her that to her face, so I can say that here. You know, my mom's a terrifying woman.
Oh man, no, you know what's crazy is that like, I'm not against the police.
No,
people like but when there are bad apples, like, if there are bad police officers, just like there's bad soldiers, bad anything.
Yeah.
Like, you have to make it. You don't just excuse it, sweep it under the rug, and let them. And that's a problem I think most people have, right? No one's against the police. They're just against bad cops.
Yep.
And then the legal system or the justice system, it's like they have some special rules for police officers. Like, they just kind of seem to get different treatment. And look, cops, like, you know, I've been deployed, right? So the closest I've come to
combat,
I've been in some situations, right?
Right.
But cops have to face that, especially the guys who patrol certain areas. Like, they face that on a daily basis. That's 100%. What they do. So like, I feel for them. Like, I understand, like, you have to be able to react. But I remember, the rules may have changed after I got out, but I remember when I was active duty, it was you couldn't shoot first, right? The rules of engagement were very strict, and you had to give warning shots and all sorts of stuff before you even fired at somebody.
Yep.
Whereas it seems like cops, it seems like cops are taught to, act first before someone else has a chance to, so they're not taught to react, they're taught to act. Yeah. And I'm sure they're taught to de-escalate situations as well. But like, when you see men and women that, cops that aren't following those rules, like, you just make an example out of them.
Yeah. Like,
because when
Good.
Someone collects a paycheck for 5 years, what's that telling everyone else? That you have a special set of rules to play by? Like, no one hates cops. No one hates police.
No,
like,
no.
We need the police. I need the police.
Yeah. Like, literally no one has ever said I hate cops. Like, people who said that are dumb and irresponsible with their kind of rhetoric. Like, that's not ever what I'm saying. Like, but yeah, like, dude, like, if you have a bad soldier, you get them out. You don't keep them there. You know what I mean? To keep collecting a paycheck, because what you're doing is putting other cops at risk, right? Like, I don't understand. Right. I don't understand why that isn't a thing that happens more, right? Like, and if it is a bad apple, so the funny thing, so I watched a John Oliver thing on police, right? So the thing about that slogan, a few bad apples, the rest of that slogan is a few bad apples spoil the barrel, right? So that's how that works. Like, because you have these few bad cops, because there's probably hundreds of thousands, if not a couple million cops, right? But when you have these bad ones highlighted, you shouldn't. What you don't do when you know they did something clearly wrong because it's in the department guidelines, you don't then
Make an
back
excuse
them
for them.
up. You don't then just back them up for 5 years and then get mad after the fact. Like that doesn't seem real. That doesn't happen in any other job. Like doctors, nurses, EMTs, firefighters. No other job gets that kind of leeway. Given it's an incredibly hard job. I will never take anything away. They do some shit that I have friends that are cops. When a guy that I work security with is a cop now in Orlando. Like I have friends that are cops that people have. I respect what they do. That shit is hard. That shit is terrifying because you never know. But again, like you also have to have a trust with the community because, like, I'm looking at it this way, right? Like if you take a step back, let's say you get pulled over by a cop who is that shoot first cop, right? Like you as a civilian are also terrified for your life. You also don't know if this, you know what I mean? Like because you've seen the videos, because you see that cops constantly back them up, and no matter what they do. So you don't know if this cop is that cop that might instigate some shit. So those cops have to be weeded out because it makes the job for the cop harder. Because that person that can probably have a gun, because there's 370 million guns in this country, you're putting yourself at risk because that person wants to make it home too. Just like you do. Like it's not helping anybody. And it's disingenuous and it's bullshit when you come to the defense of it because you're risking your own life, bro. Like your job is hard enough. Why have shitty cops on duty? That only makes it worse for you because everybody's gonna think you're a shitty cop.
Right, and I mean the entire point, especially some police departments, right? Community policing and being involved in the community. And how are you going to be a part of that community if you're standing up for people that are taking advantage of those people they're supposed to be protecting?
Yeah, like it doesn't.
Yeah, denouncing cops like that doesn't mean that it means you're denouncing bad cops.
Yeah,
like that's what you should do. We have bad soldiers, and it was clear, like, you're a bad soldier. Like, we need to. There are things that you do to correct situations, but you don't just sweep it under the rug and then go on and business as usual.
No, you have again, like it just doesn't make sense. And then with the training, I think the training should be longer and more strenuous to weed out possible cops with bad attitudes or a little bit too afraid in those situations. Because listen, man, if me and you are partners, and I know you're terrified always, then I'm gonna be on a heightened sense of I have to overreact to have to protect. Like think about it, right? Like being in the military, if you have to clear a room, if the person in front of you is kind of a dick and kind of a piece of shit and kind of cocky, that's gonna be worse for you. That's putting your life in danger. Like I don't understand how it becomes this thing is like, oh, cops can't be criticized or anything. It's bad enough that cops can't be sued, like if they do something wrong. Like a cop itself, like I saw that Hassan Minaj thing.
I was going to tell you, I saw that a couple of days ago. I was like, let me watch this all his episodes. I've liked that show. I don't know if you've seen all of them.
Oh yeah.
And the season just ended, but yeah, I caught that last one on policing in America and the way the cops are trained, and that was kind of eye opening. Like I know they have different training, but just I alluded to it earlier when they're taught to act first, react. So act first, ask questions later.
Yeah. So the slogan I've heard from cops, and again I won't say names because that's what I mean. Like it's hard. Like I want to have like my goal is to have a podcast with a cop, but they can't come on because they can't have that openness, and they gotta be. You know what I mean? Like that doesn't make sense. Like like this would be a version of outreach to the community. Like even if 40 people watch this, that's 40 people who have a better understanding of what it's like to be a cop, like what it goes through when you're at a traffic stop and you don't know if the person you're about to pull over has a gun or if the person in the passenger seat a woman is having a baby. Like I don't know any of that shit. Like I don't know what that feels like. So hiding behind this blue wall and everything secret and it's always protect us, like that helps nobody out. But that Hassan Minaj thing where like you can't even sue a cop. So I don't know. You weren't living in South Florida at the time. This is probably 10 years ago. I was still living down there, right? I think you were even still active duty. We were talking, and we always talked throughout the years. So this cop got pulled over by a Florida Highway Patrol, right? Cop was on duty, drunk as fuck, like swerving because the FHP had a dash cam, so you could see the cop swerving. Pulled over. I think he blew like a 1.9 or some shit, and legal limit was like 0.08. So yeah, like they didn't fire the cop that got pulled over. they bullied so badly the FHP that she quit. Like, dude, like what? Like, he's drunk on duty and he was cool, didn't lose his job. I think he had like desk duty for a couple weeks and he was fine. But the cop that pulled him over for him breaking the law ended up having to resign for the treatment she was getting. Then where do you go? Who's the bad cop there? Is it more so the establishment of the police? Is it the training? Is it the whole system? Because if a cop's drunk on duty, what if he's reporting to a call? What if he's supposed to go back up other cops? Like, I don't get that defense of it. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. And again, let me say it again because people are gonna be bench shitting on cops again. Cop job is incredibly difficult. But when you have bad police, you have to get bad police out of there. It shouldn't be you defend them to the end. Like, that doesn't make sense. Because all you're doing is making it harder for the cops and harder for the community that lives in those areas, man. Like, it just doesn't, I don't know. It just doesn't make sense to me, bro. It really doesn't.
No, yeah. Every Friday I go to this, or every other Friday I go to this, like they have a beer or wine tasting at this crazy ass supermarket down the street. But it's got a Starbucks, it's got a bar, it's got all sorts of craziness in there. And I talked to, like, it's the same cop that goes in there because, you know, they stay open. You pay $7 and you get to taste like 3 or 4 different flights of beers and wine and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. And then people, obviously, after they have their flights, then they start buying more. And so I got to know the cop. Like, I don't even know his last name, Officer John. So we happen to have the same name.
Right.
And he comes by and he's on shift and we'll be drinking and we'll buy him fried chicken and all sorts of. I mean, because he's. Yeah, you know, you get to know him. We talk about what he does, and there's been some drunk people, and like, you need, like, we're not shitting on cops.
Yeah,
nobody's shitting on cops. Like,
ever.
You need cops like that are in the community and they talk to the people that they're supposed to be. That's the same guy that patrols our streets, like from time to time, like him and a couple other different guys. But I've seen them around. So, like, you beat me to it. No one's shitting on cops, but when those bad apples, like, especially since we have social media, everyone's got a phone. He just went to bed. My 6th grader has a phone, right? Anyone can put up a phone and film it and stream it live on whatever platform they want to stream it on.
Yep.
And they catch someone doing something obviously wrong. Like, you got to make an example out of them.
Yeah.
You know, and that doesn't mean, but when you talk about, you mentioned that highway patrol, I remember that story. And because I think it was, you're the one that told me that story. I had just gotten back from Korea.
Yep.
Like at that point, I mean, you think it's the establishment, right? Because no matter what, you're protecting these bad apples, regardless. And it's whether it's Florida, whether it's New York, Texas, you know, Missouri, wherever. It's the same protection of these guys that are obviously in the wrong. And I don't get it, you know. But having said all that, that's still the minority of cops. Like, the majority of cops are great. That's why no one's shitting on cops, but those bad cops, just those bad cops, like, you have to treat them, you know, you can't treat them with kid gloves. No, you just can't, because then you're making these people or their families victims all over again.
Yep. Like, what if that cop on duty all those years ago drunk drove and killed somebody? Right? Like, who knows what could have happened there? Then what? Like, then what happens? Like, does the establishment come up and protect them too? You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't. Right. Like, with all the great cops, good cops, above average cops, detectives, lieutenant, all those people. Like, if it is the minority, why do you protect bad? Like, why are bad cops protected? Like, I'm just asking the question. There's tons. They can do a bunch of other jobs, bro. There's tons of other things they can do. They could work for Blackwater if that's still a thing, and you know what I mean, and go overseas deployments. There's a ton of other things they can do. You're giving a bad name to police, and you're making people not trust cops. Like,
I get why they do it, because obviously, if they set that precedent, whomever it happens to be, then it opens the door for everyone else that feels like they were mistreated by a cop, even just a little bit, when they probably weren't. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, someone that thinks that the cop used excessive force when they didn't, then it opens the door, and it goes back to like that Hassan Minhaj episode where like you have to prove, something happened, but you can't prove it because it hasn't been proven before. So that's why no one wants to be that first, because once you've set that precedent, now there's a legal background for a ton of other cases.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is it right? I don't know, but something's got to be done, not just letting someone go 5 years collecting a paycheck.
But then it becomes a worse, like, then what ends up happening, right? We've seen it hundreds of times now, is what happened is that community that person was killed in or whatever, that they end up suing the city, and then the taxpayers of that city have to pay them, you know what I mean? Have to pay the money. So then again, like, how are you winning? Like, because all you've done really is back up a cop that did something that you said was illegal. Like you like back to the Eric Garner thing. You decided as the department that this move is illegal and you can't do it. And then you write that rule and then you do nothing of it. So then you're a department that doesn't enforce your own laws and you know what I mean? Like it doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense. I didn't think we were gonna talk that long about cops. Like that wasn't even a thing we had talked about that we were gonna talk about, but that just kind of happened.
I know, and I was trying to get to the point where, like, you said it first, but no one's shitting on cops, just shitting on bad cops. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, those are the ones that make the headlines.
Yeah, I will forever shit on bad cops. Like that's just what it is. Because there's way too many great cops out there that are getting their names dragged through the mud because of these bad cops. So good cops need to stand up for themselves. I'm like, yo, man, this motherfucker needs to go. And if that good cop does it, he can't be deemed a snitch, a rat, or any of those things. Because that shit happens too. Actually happened. We'll end it here with the whole cop thing, right? Like in Indiana with Pete Buttigieg, right? His police chief, like, said that like one of, like, I'm trying to paraphrase the story because it's pretty long. So like one of his cops was like, yo, this other cop did something wrong. So he made sure that like when that cop responded to a call, he went by himself, had no backup. Now, I'm just putting race in here because that's who the cop was. The cop happened to be black. The police chief happened to be white, and a bunch of other shit. You can research that on your own. That Pete Buttigieg thing is crazy. Not a lot of people are looking into it because he's the establishment's darling, but he covered that shit up too. And there was like there's tapes of him saying like, yo, no, fuck him. Like, I'm not backing up this cop. Like, again, like, even so, if you argue against the establishment when you are the establishment, so that cop goes, hey man, this cop's doing something wrong. Like, what? Like, so you're letting the cop off to die? Like, if he reports to something crazy, you're not gonna send any backup? Like, it's too confusing and convoluted to try to explain away in this podcast. But
no, I didn't think we were going to talk about it for 25 minutes or
no, definitely not. So, and in conclusion with that is fuck bad cops, right? I mean, that's
for sure.
We get 100%. And real quick, and it's not the cops that are like kind of dicks. You know what I mean? That when they give you a ticket, no, that's not who we're talking about.
No, that's
like, you know what I mean? That's just a cop being a cop. I don't give a fuck. But it's the cop that like strangles a person when they're not supposed to do that. That's the cop I'm kind of talking about.
Yeah, I think that's where the line is, right? Like if someone's just being a dick, I chalk it up to just him being a cop. Like you, exactly. not that all cops are like that, but yeah, we're talking about like this crazy shit that's going on. People are losing their lives, getting shot up. Like, man, I'm Chris. My brother and my friends tell me, hey, look, you look a certain way, even though you're Latino. So you look a certain way, and you might be treated differently than some of us.
Yes.
And they're right, but fuck, for like the last 3 or 4 years when I was when all this stuff was really like just heating up and it was in the media and it was everywhere and it seemed like every day someone was getting shot and it was on the news, I was on high alert. I was like, crap. Like, even though I look the way I look, I know I'm Latino. I know I speak a certain way and I live in Cleveland, Ohio. Shit, I live in Strongsville. It's 94% white.
Yeah.
And my wife and I make up the minority population of Latinos and Asians. Like, that's it. It's this household.
That's it. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And I was nervous. I was like, oh man, like if a cop pulls me over, I've done nothing wrong, but like my hands would be like on the steering wheel. Because that's the kind of stuff that I was like, I don't want to give someone the wrong idea. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I know. Listen,
it's crazy because.
Go ahead. I'm going to cut you off.
Yeah, because I got pulled over a couple of times and the cops they were just like, hey, you were going 10 miles over the limit. Let me give you a warning later. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
we just did during that time. I didn't know how to act except like, let me just keep my hands clear and not say anything stupid like I usually do sometimes.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. How, I want
But,
to. So I've been stopped 3 times in the last 16 months. So twice by Border Patrol. One time because like my license plate from my work truck was like about to expire because it was like 12/17, and
mhm.
it was, so I had till the end of the month, and it was gonna expire. The license plate was on the way, whatever. So the cop pulls me over. Again, it wasn't an awkward, you know what I mean? He wasn't a dick or nothing. We talked, asked me a bunch of times if I was a citizen, yeah, so on and so forth. Because he was border patrol. So
Right.
that one didn't bother me as much because he gave me a reason and he was cool. I mean, had this dog that I kind of fucking fell in love with. Like, he had this Belgian Malinois, which kind of looks like a German Shepherd, but it's a short-haired German Shepherd almost. If you
Okay.
ever if you ever get the chance to Google that, that's a badass dog. That dog is like the Navy SEAL of dogs. Like
What is
that
it
dog,
called?
Belgian Malinois, Malinois. It's a German Shepherd
Oh
on,
yeah.
yeah, it's a German Shepherd on steroids, but like super bad. You know what I mean? But like without the
Right.
anger
Yeah.
issues. So he walked the dog. He was cool. We talked for like 40 minutes. He was cool. I told him what I do. I was like, listen, man, I opened the back of the truck because my license plate at the time was based in Arizona. So he's like, there's a lot of human trafficking that comes out of Arizona, yada, yada, yada. I was like, all right, cool,
Right.
no problem, man. Go ahead, check it. But then the other 2 times, I was at the gas station right by my house. I think the demographics in my area is like 87% white and black and Mexican, right? Like I think that's
Mhm.
pretty much it. Like there's probably different versions of Mexican, but that's how they, like, if you look online, like
Right.
Guatemalans, Nicaraguans, like that, they just put them all as Mexican here. That's
Just
legit.
Mexican. Yeah.
Yeah, Mexican or other. That's like kind of how you fall in there. Being
Right.
Panamanian and Cuban, I don't know which side I'm on. So I was at the gas station and I'm going to go get something to drink, and the cop just stops me. You know what I mean? Like, and he asked me, I was like, and I don't want to like ask him why I'm being stopped because I'm legit afraid. Like this guy has
Right.
a fucking gun on his hip. Like I'm terrified. Like, yo, like, am I about to go to jail? Like, do I fit the description? Like, what's going on here? And it ended up being just because, like, he didn't even like give me a reason why he stopped me. And I was talking to my friend, my same boy that was a cop at the time, that I got
Mhm.
into the whole Eric Garner debate with, and I was like,
Mhm.
yo, man, so this and this happened. It's like, no, they're supposed to give you a reason. I was like, bro, again, this dude is white. I was like, yo, like, there's a privilege that you're given that I'm not afforded. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
it's never. I've had the first experience when I was like 15 with Richard driving in the driver's seat, and my friend Alex, a big ass Dominican guy, we're like 16 years old. The cops stopped us and it got my dad out of the car because they thought we were kidnapping him. Like, mind you, why would we kidnap him? And this was in Springs, by the way. This was in Miami Springs. I was like,
Uh-huh.
why would we kidnap him and let him drive? How does, you know what I mean? How does that make sense? Like, he could just drive us to the police station. We can't do shit. Then we're kind of then we're kind of stuck. But yeah, man, like, it's a relationship that has to be mended, and it has to start from the people in authority, right? Because
Yeah.
we can't keep screaming, "Please don't shoot us, hands up," when you're like, "Nah, man, we're gonna keep this guy that choked this guy to death on for 5 years." Like, then there's no in between. There's no middle ground. We're not meeting anywhere. I don't know.
Right.
It's fucking crazy, bro. Was that 30 minutes on cops? Something that we
Yeah. I
didn't
think
even
that's enough.
we didn't talk about in our pre-show. That's crazy. So one other thing I wanted to ask you about something. I know we could talk about guns, but I wanted to ask you what your thought on. Obviously, we're two assholes doing a podcast from Cleveland, Ohio, and Bushnell, Florida, right? Like, what we say isn't gonna move the needle on one or the other. We're just having a conversation via
Yeah. Yeah.
video and audio. You know what I mean? Like, what's your thought on universal health care? I know we didn't talk about this before. I just wanted to take like your hot take or whatever, quote unquote, on that. Like, what do you think about it?
I'm all for it. Now, look, here's the thing with universal healthcare or any healthcare. I was in the Army for 12 years.
Yeah.
My wife retired. So I had free healthcare for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Even after I got out, she was still active duty. So I had free healthcare, free
Yep.
dental, free whatever. Like I didn't feel that pain. Now I knew about the pain. Hell, when I was like 13, I remember looking at my stepdad's Prudential bill and he was paying like $500-$600 back in the 90s. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So I don't even want to know how much insurance for a family, like good insurance, costs right now.
I can tell you.
And
I can tell you.
I'll cry. I think I might cry.
So for me and my wife, because so when you work for somebody, you don't have any control over, right? That's whoever your corporation or your company negotiates with. And it's not nothing on the company I work for, because a lot of people that I work with listen to this podcast, but it's just the way it works. Like a company makes a deal with a certain insurance company, and they work. So they could raise up the premiums, they could raise up all the things they want to. So between me and my wife, a month, I think we pay $1,600 a month. Dude. So, and every year, and every year, it's gotten to be a little bit more through different things. And so the people, like, I'll tell you like this: if I paid that much money, but I didn't then on top have the co-pays, the hidden fees and charges of going to the emergency room. I'll give you an example. Like, I had a panic attack 2 weeks before my wedding, right? I never had a panic attack before. Thought I was having a fucking heart attack. It's like, that's it. I'm about to die. It's over. Terrified. So it was like, I wake up, I couldn't breathe. My wife's like, stop being a bitch. I tell the story. She said it herself. She's like, stop being a bitch. You're having a panic attack. I've had them before. You're fine. You know, it's a lot of stress with the wedding coming up and all that shit. I was like, no, I think I'm dying. Like, I'm pretty sure, like, this is it. Like, let's take this
paramedics.
Shit. Let's take this shit to the ER. She's like, fine. So I go. They run a bunch of tests. Before I go, because I know how insurance works, because I work in the medical industry. Like, I look to make sure they're under that hospital is under my insurance. So the hospital's under my insurance, right? Which is crazy. I'm having a fucking panic attack. Maybe in my mind, a heart attack. So I go. I still open up my laptop, look it up, and then I go. So the hospital is covered, but the doctor that saw me, because he was a doctor that was just covering the ER for that night. That shit ended up costing me $2,700. I ended up having, like 98% of people don't just have $3,000 laying around that they could just pay shit off. So I ended up having, then that obviously that went into collections and all this other shit. I ended up having to settle that for like $1,200. But dude, I'm paying. Then why am I paying you X amount of money for a month if I'm still gonna get charged on the back end? So if I'm paying, I'll tell you like this: if I'm paying $1,500 a month and I don't have all that extra hidden shit, all those other fees where like I have to count my chips, because I make good money, right? Like I'm able to afford certain shit, but I don't want to then pay this much money that's taken out of my check to then have to pay my insurance a certain amount to meet my deductible to then maybe get some stuff covered. Like, that's insane to me. And you have no control over it. And the people who I don't know who argues against that in a rational way without just saying, oh, I don't want to pay for somebody else's heart transplant or some shit.
Look, I got family that lives in Spain, cousins, aunts, and you know, Spain is part of the European Union, and you know, they don't have the greatest economy, right? Like I have family members that are engineers and they're making combined less than what I make.
Yep.
You know, they're fucking engineers.
Yep.
And but my cousin was talking to me about the healthcare there. I was like, so, you know, what is it? He's like, well, I fucked up my wrist, so I had to stop, you know, lifting for a couple months, but I haven't gone to the doctor yet. I'm like, what are you waiting for? He's like, yeah, but if I go to the doctor, then I'm gonna have to wait. I'm like, so how long are you gonna have to wait? It's probably like a month before I can go be seen again or have surgery. I'm like, all right, but how much is that gonna cost you? Not a damn thing.
No.
Except time.
No.
So you're talking about like surgery to repair, you know, some broken stuff. I was like, come on, you know, I don't even want to know how much it's going to cost over here. Again, because my wife is retired. She's a veteran. I need to do my VA claim so I can get my free healthcare.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, you pay $1,500 between you and your wife. I think we paid like $600 for the year for the family.
Yep. So that,
you know, and that's through TRICARE because she's a retiree and all that stuff. Again, like I haven't felt the pain, but I know that that's not the majority of people. And a $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 hit people can't absorb that. And not only can they not absorb it, a lot of people don't even have good enough credit to be able to take out a personal loan to cover that and then pay it back. So it goes into collections and then they have to settle. And that's probably one of the reasons why these insurance companies I don't know if they've started doing it yet, but they weren't putting it on people's credit histories. Like people have thousands and thousands or hundreds of thousands of dollars.
No, yeah, they do.
They'll put your for a while debt. They weren't putting it.
Yeah, they'll put your medical debt. They'll put your medical debt in collections, and it'll show up on your credit report. 100%.
For a while, they weren't doing it.
No, they're fully doing it now. 100%. Yeah.
Because it's so many people that fall into that category.
Yeah.
Like that's just that would destroy everybody's credit.
Yeah.
Like how is anyone able to afford anything because this country runs on credit?
And then the thing is like you're in this debt while also having the same insurance that you're still paying for. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like bitch, I'm paying you $30,000 a year or whatever. Take it out of that. Like, why do I then have to pay the anesthesiologist because they happen to change partners the week before? So then what? You know what I mean? Like all these things you don't have control over. If you have universal healthcare, you don't have to worry about none of that shit. And think about like another thing that I think about is like, think about the people who want to start their own business, right? Like if you have universal healthcare, you're afforded the possibility of making your own dream happen instead of having to work for somebody else. Like, look, man, I'm very honest about. Like, if I had a dream, this is what the fuck I would do. Like, I would do podcasts, I would do media. This is what I don't want to wake up at 3:30 in the morning and drive, you know what I mean, and drive a truck and do all this other shit. I don't, man. Like, being completely honest, who the fuck does? Like, if I'm waking up at 3:30 in the morning, it's because I got to catch a flight because I'm about to do a podcast with Joe Rogan. You know what I mean? Like, or some shit like that. Like, I want to do something positive and like, given I do what I do and I love what I do, but I don't want to do that forever. But financially, I can't afford to do anything else. It's afforded me a great life. But if I'm able to, if I have universal healthcare, then I'm able to do this and focus more on this because I don't have the stress of $1,700 or whatever it is coming out of my check every month, and having to worry about, okay, well, my wife is gonna have to have this next week or that or this medication, or this medication now went up 38% out of nowhere because you have no control over any of that shit. Like, and the thing is, I have had universal health care. We had it in the military. That's the fuck it was. Like, I had knee surgery, CTs, MRIs, never paid a motherfucking dime. So if you
that's why I'm all for it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm 100%.
I know what it's like.
Yeah, I know. I've experienced it. It's fucking amazing. Oh my God, could you imagine the government having control over healthcare? I've experienced it, bro. It works great. Given you might have to be up early as fuck one night for an MRI because your appointment's at 2 a.m. That's happened to me. But
and I get it. You
don't have to pay any money.
The doctors aren't. Yeah, and you don't have the greatest doctors, but hey, they are doctors. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not Bob from like down the street who's a mechanic part-time and then he does this doctor shit on the side.
Yeah, they're
like,
still doctors.
You're seeing doctors.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so, I haven't had to have surgeries, but my wife's had multiple surgeries. And I mean, I know I've lived through universal healthcare. Like that's what it is because we're in the Army for so long.
It's 100% universal health.
People complain about I have to pay for other people's healthcare. I was like, but what do you think you're doing now with private insurance? Yeah. Like, you're paying more. You might not be paying for someone else's, but you're paying $1,500 to cover you and your wife and your kid.
But see, the thing
is, your taxes might go up, but it wouldn't go up $1,500 a month if you had universal healthcare. I can tell you that.
Yeah, and here's the thing: is you actually are paying for other people through private insurance because it's not like
that's what insurance is.
Yeah, that's what insurance is. Like, it doesn't go into like a bank account in the insurance company that I have, right? It goes into like Blue Cross Blue Shield, Cigna, all these, you know what I mean? All these other companies, you name them. Like, it goes into those, and then that pile, I don't know how they distribute it, because if I'm paying that much money, I shouldn't have to pay nothing on the back end. Like, if I'm putting, you know what I mean? Like, it's, again, we've experienced universal healthcare. I had knee surgery. Well, I didn't pay a single dime. I took my ID to the hospital. You know what I mean? Like, that's it. Like, I didn't have to worry about a copay. I didn't have to worry about anesthesia, which is still the worst anesthesia I've ever experienced. I'm just going to be completely honest. I threw up like 3 times because they gave me too much or some shit. It was terrible.
It was free?
It was free, though. I threw up 3 times, but I didn't end up in debt. I went to
That
the
money was still
hospital
in
for
my
6
pocket.
hours one night and ended up almost $3,000 in the hole while
That's
paying
nuts,
for the
man.
same insurance. It's crazy, bro. It's fucking crazy. I don't know. Oh, so so this is my solution. This is the only solution I'll ever probably give on this podcast for universal healthcare. If people have
Okay.
a problem with people having universal healthcare, make military service mandatory, right? Minimum of 2 years. And everybody, and so they've served their country, they've given their time. I'm sorry to say, some might lose their lives, right? Like that's a complete possibility. But everybody
Mm-hmm.
that comes out gets healthcare for the rest of their lives. I think every soldier that ever served should have healthcare forever. Because if you've taken that oath
Right.
and then do it that way, because then that'll show, that'll actually make almost better people as a whole, right? Because they've been selfless, they've done, what I mean, the leadership, the loyalty, respect, all that other stuff, duty, they've served other and they lived their life. So that'll make better people,
Yeah.
people who actually get exposed to other people. Like, dude, like, we served with Muslims. Like, I served with Muslims. I served with Sikhs. I served with a bunch of people. I served with a bunch of people I was never exposed to before. You know what I mean? Like, all these
Yeah.
people
Me
that you
too.
hear
Same
about,
here.
you know what I mean, that are bad. Like, yo, like, nah, man, they took the same oath and wore my same uniform. So you're kind of a dick if you know what I mean? Like, if you think
Yeah.
otherwise.
We deployed together
Yeah,
to Afghanistan. Like,
yeah, that
they weren't
happened.
trying to take me out. They
Yeah,
weren't trying to take me out on the low, like that,
yeah.
but people have the fear of what they don't know. And you talk about that 2 year. Whoa, we're getting a little excited there.
My bad. I smacked the shit out of my microphone. I want to
Yeah.
apologize for anybody who saw
You
that.
talk about
Yeah.
that 2 year mandatory service. South Korea does that. And I was stationed in Korea for a while. And they have that 2 year conscription. And it's not just military, right? It's like service. So whether it's the fire department,
Mm-hmm.
the police force,
Yep.
they have the Katusa program, the Korean augmentees to the U.S. Army, and they do it for the Air Force as well and all that stuff. Usually, like, it's the well-off families that get their
Yeah.
kids into that program. But yeah, they do it for 2 years. It's part of, like, and it's, you could be in college, you could be some pop star, movie star.
Doesn't
There's
matter.
no exception.
Yeah.
One of my wife's soldiers was he was a Korean pop star, but he had to go through service, and he happened to be, he did his Katusa duty for 2 years, and then he went back to his freaking pop star, rock star lifestyle.
Yeah.
And that's part of their culture. And it develops, we can't make it mandatory, but I think it develops a better appreciation for, like, not just the military, because I was in the military, but for your country and for, like, what it is that, you don't just serve for those 2 years. Like,
Yep.
I think you develop a better appreciation for everything, for like your brothers and sisters in or
Yep.
outside of the service.
100%.
And and can we do that here? There's no way. Like, no one, people don't want to do that, right? They want their guns, but
Yeah.
don't tell me to join the military.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
That's
exactly.
funny, right? It's a funny
It's a funny thing. Like, it's, have you
it's
know,
ironic.
like, yeah, like I know, so that's a good segue, by the way. I appreciate that. So it becomes this thing where I'm like, all right, man, I served, so I always feel like I have a little bit more of oomph behind what you know what I mean? Like, yo, man, like, I shot every gun you've ever possibly, man. I've shot guns you can't even buy. You know what I mean? I've shot weapons you can't even think about buying. Like, they don't sell to you. I have more experience
Right.
with everything you could have possibly thought of. I've done it before I was legal to drink. Like, I've done all that shit. I mean, the one thing I have minimum experience with is handguns, because I didn't need it. Like, I had the bigger gun. Like, I didn't need a handgun. You know what I mean? So, like, it's this thing where, yeah, man, the guns conversation annoys the shit out of me to a level that I'll never quite comprehend, because it's people who, for the most part, it's people who never served, who fetishize guns to this level that they are never to be talked about, never to have a conversation of, almost like they're this scared little baby that should always be protected, and fuck everybody who possibly loses their life in the meanwhile, cops included.
So what's the argument? What's the argument for having guns?
The Second Amendment, right? That's it. That's yes. The entire. I need. Oh, here we go. I got it. Hey, man, I got to be ready because some shit might happen, and I got to protect myself or my family. That
Right, like protection from an intruder, right? That's one of the arguments that people use, right?
Yep.
Yeah, but most people keep their guns locked up.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
what?
How much time do you think you have?
Yeah, like you know
Unless you
how
have
the
like a biometric thing where you can just like pop your gun out right away.
yeah.
If your gun is locked up in a case or whatever it is that you have, like you don't have enough time.
I think it's people. So this is gonna be a long one because this is gonna be a good conversation here. Like people who make fun of safe spaces or things that areas where you can't have gun-free zones and stuff like that, right? Like I get the argument, I understand the argument against it, but people who are like, nah, man, I always carry my gun with me, have almost that hope or that wish factor that they're gonna be John Wick in that moment, and they'll be completely able to assess the situation when there's thousands, if not hundreds, of people running, right? If there's an active shooter, and you have to in that second fucking scan the crowd and find who the shooter is and then shoot him from a distance while there's people running through. Like, what do you think is actually going to happen in those moments, given there are those rare moments when there's a smaller crowd and a shooter is subdued, because that's happened, right? But that's the exception to the actual rule. Like, we've seen that in the past 6 to 8 weeks, how often that doesn't happen,
I was
right?
about to ask you
In the state of
when's the
fucking
case?
Texas. You
When's
know
the
what I mean?
case of a good guy with a gun taking out the bad guys with a gun?
Yeah.
Does
Like
that happen a lot?
I think it's happened once, and I can't clearly remember it. But like there was, oh, here we go. It was that black guy in Tennessee at the Waffle House, and he didn't even have a gun.
Yeah.
He charged them, and because he was the
Was
dude
he a
was shooting.
soldier?
Yeah, he was prior military, and
Yeah.
yeah, and then you had the soldier in Texas that like just tried to save lives, like pull
Right.
people out of the way. Like I don't understand the I don't get it. Like, listen, man. Again, myself and you, we're both gun owners, right?
Yeah, I was about to say before you keep going,
Yeah,
I'll say two things and then you keep going with your point. I'm all for uh getting rid of guns. Having said that, I'm a gun owner.
yeah,
You know what I mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah,
I have one. I know how to use one. I
yeah,
fired them plenty.
yeah.
But yeah, go ahead. You make your point because I have some interesting stories about that as well.
Yeah, like it just so I have my like I'm not. It took a lot of convincing with talking to my wife, like, cause it's a big decision to buy a gun, right? Like having the training, like in the military, it's not like you just carry your gun all around. The shit's in an armory.
Arms room.
Yeah, arms room. Every weapon is accounted for, and all this other shit. Like, it took like I think we just bought the gun last year, and I talked to the same guy who I had the debates with about the Eric Garner stuff. Like I talked because he was a cop. Like, look, man, what gun do you recommend? Because I'm gonna be honest, I'm ignorant for handguns, right? Like I know my ARs because they were M16s and M4s. I know that stuff. I know all the
Right.
bigger guns. A handgun, I don't know. It's not like I could put an AR-15 in my pocket. You know what I mean? So I had to know.
You could
I had to
try.
get better knowledge on handguns and all that stuff. So I talked to people who knew guns because I didn't. You know what I mean? And again, and I was in the
Yep.
military. Now imagine, so I know how everything else works. So it's just like I talked to people who knew guns. So then you go into these arguments where like, no, you don't ever talk about my guns, or Democrats want to take away guns. Like, no, man. Like the fact that, dude, there was a gun show here. I want to say a month ago, right? Like not too far, at the fairgrounds. I went there because I had never been to a gun show before. Like I bought my gun at a it's called Rural King. It's kind of like a
Hmm.
Walmart, but like country wise. Like it has like stuff,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like all that stuff for like, because we got chickens, the feed for the chickens and dogs,
Yeah.
all this
You're
other
out
shit.
there in the sticks, huh?
Yeah, we're in the middle of motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Literally, it's called Rural King. It's the king of rural shit. So
Yeah.
go there, and I bought it there, and I did it the completely legal way. I got my concealed weapons, I got my fingerprints and all that stuff. And I was like, man, I've never been to a gun show, and I keep hearing about these gun show loopholes, right? Son, like I could go to a flea market. We have a flea market every Monday. It's supposed to be the biggest flea market in Florida. There's like random people like you and me just selling guns. You think that person at the flea market is doing a background check, figuring out why you're buying? Nah, man, they're there to sell the gun because they probably need money. Like that's where my issue lies, right? Like if you and I did it the right way and got
Hmm.
like there shouldn't be all these other avenues to buy guns. You know what I mean? Like that's where I draw. Like that's where that shit has to be reeled in. Like I can't go to buy it from fucking Billy Bob. You know what I mean? That sells guns on Mondays and then goes back to the dairy farm on Tuesday. Respect the dairy farm. I'm not, but you know what I mean? Like I'm not. I don't understand how that's cool. Like how is that? Yeah, you. Oh, and then I talk to friends like, oh, but they got to sign this this bill of sale and all. What does that stop though? Like it's a piece of paper. You know what I mean? Like it's not filed with anybody. That motherfucker can throw out that bill of sale. It's a receipt. Everybody throws away receipts every day, and there's nothing stopping that person from buying it. So you just think of what the community you're in. What if somebody knows that flea market sells guns and comes in from a different part of town? Right, comes in from Orlando, Gainesville, Jacksonville, any of these places. There's nothing to stop them. The perforation, right? Yeah, the perforation of guns through all these different avenues that you could buy them doesn't make sense to me, bro. Like if you can't buy it at a store and if you don't have a license, I don't think you should be allowed to have a gun. How about that? Like and you should be recertified. Like you still have to, just like you have to do the test again with your license and all that other shit, you should do the same thing with your gun. And you should take classes.
Yeah.
There should be requirements. You can't just get a gun because the Second Amendment. Get the fuck.
Because you're 21 now.
You know what I mean?
But and that goes down to but then people will complain, right, about why I don't want to be registered. I don't want the government to track how many guns I own. That, or the third.
How about this?
Look, my wife was all against me having a gun. Yeah. Again, she did
Especially
20 years.
Kids. Yeah.
She did 20 years. I did almost 12, but she did not want to have one in the house. And so the way I got mine, and it's a small revolver. I have a Charter Arms pit bull little freaking 6-shooter. It's a little revolver.
Right. That's all you need. Yeah.
Her old boss, so this colonel, he was a chaplain. He also owns a gun business on the side.
Yeah.
Like legitimate gun businesses. He and his son-in-law. But every state has different rules. That's another thing, right? The rules change from state to state.
Yep.
And some states recognize certain laws from the others. Some don't.
Some recognize
some
licenses.
Reciprocate. Some don't.
Yeah. Some recognize some licenses and some don't. Yep.
Right. So like that loophole, that loophole might be everywhere. That gun show loophole, but in Tennessee, like if you buy a used gun from someone, that's all you do. You sign that bill of sale.
Yep.
And no registration has to happen. Now, if you buy a new gun, then you have to fill out the paperwork. They have to send it off. Takes longer. I was like, whatever. So the gun I got was because we worked on his fireplace. Like he saw we tore down our fireplace, we redid it. He's like, hey, can you do that for us? And we're like, yeah, we'll do it. Your wife would like it. So my wife convinced me to work on her boss's fireplace.
Mm-hmm.
And he owns a couple acres, right? He got a Bobcat and he built his own little firing range in his backyard. But we worked on his fireplace, tore it down, put up a new one. And unbeknownst to me, because I had gone out of my way to do this for him and his wife, and he convinced her to let us have a gun. And so that was like his gift to me. And also we would go into his backyard like every week and then just, my youngest son was like firing off 22s and he had, I don't know how many handguns, I lost count.
Yeah.
The dude has a gun shop, so it was a good time. Again, I'm not pro gun. Like, let's get rid of them.
Yeah.
But if we're allowed to have them, I'm gonna have one.
Yeah.
I don't think that it's gonna do anything for me because I don't carry it in my car, even though I have my permit. So I can't carry it into work. I work in the place that you can't take a weapon inside. So, but even at home, like, what am I going to do? I'm better off with a baseball bat by the bed. Yes. My gun is locked up.
Yeah.
By the time I get to it and open it up, who knows what would have happened, you know? And it's a good thing I got 2 little ankle biters because they're a better warning than any alarm system or any gun. These little 10-pound dogs bark at any goddamn thing.
100%.
And immediately I know if one of them barks all the time, regardless. I sleep through that shit. But if the other one starts barking, I know something's up.
Something's up.
I pop up. My wife's like, yo, you need to check that out. I'm like, yep, I'm already on it.
Yeah.
But yeah, a gun isn't going to stop anybody trying to get in. Like, I'm just not going to have enough time to do it. And the only real argument for a gun would be the Second Amendment. If the government decides, and this I I can understand this argument because I was born in Venezuela and I see what's going on in that country, right? People don't have arms over there.
Yeah.
And then the government arms certain citizens to keep the population in check because they need more people than just the police and the military and all that stuff. So that's the reality of what can happen to a population, a citizenry without guns. Like that's the Second Amendment right there. That's the entire argument for having those guns. But you mean to tell me that if the government wants to take over, that you got your ARs and you got maybe some assault rifles, do you think you're going to stop the might of the U.S. military? Like if they really wanted to?
Yeah.
The arsenal that every police department has? Yeah. Get out of here.
You're going to go out in a blaze of glory, but you're going out. You're not winning that. Like
that's the true argument, but I just don't see it actually happening. Maybe it was true when the 13 colonies were formed.
Yep.
But with the way the weapons that our government, that our military has, there's no way that your 18 rifles, I don't care how many you have, are going to do anything.
Here's the thing. The drones alone, bro. Like, you won't even see it. Like, they're not going to knock on your door, hey, man, give me your guns. No, bro. It's going to be some shit 25,000 feet up, located, you know where you are, you're blown up, and it's a wrap. If that ever happens, it's a totally different situation. But it's also like this, they got to take it from my cold dead fingers. So then what you're saying is you're going to kill military members and police? Like, is that, you know what I mean? Like, but aren't you a Blue Lives Matter? You know what I mean? Like, it becomes this whole thing where, like, your perspective is skewed and it doesn't make sense to me in that way. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're not going to then turn your gun on a soldier. And, like, it doesn't, the argument doesn't hold water if once you break it down and have that actual conversation other than, well, but you better not take my gun away. Like, then that's all you have at the end of the day. Listen, and again, I'm not here talking about taking guns away and all that stuff. I'm just saying that it should be harder for people to get guns. Like, you shouldn't be able to sell. If you want to sell your gun, sell it to your local police department. You know what I mean? Get cash for it and have that gun registered and do it that way. But when you sell it to somebody else because they wanted a gun, you're taking a 50-50 chance that gun could, honestly, at the end of the day, that's what it is. That gun isn't going to be used in a crime. That's as simple. Every gun is a 50-50 chance. Every single one. It's either going to be used to protect you and your family, or it's going to be used in a crime. That's all it's made for. That's like, it's not a paperweight. You know what I mean?
It's not killing. That's what they are, right?
That's all they've ever been. Anybody who says protect you and your family, okay, so you're going to kill somebody else. Like, it's a weapon to murder. That's it. So it's either justified or unjustified. At the end of the day, it's 50-50. And again, people don't agree with me because, I lean on the left side of it, but I don't think there's anything that I'm saying here that's out of this world, irrational, or anything. Like, dude, just make it more difficult. If you want a gun, you got to have certain classes. You got to do certain, like, you can't just go on a Monday to buy a shotgun. Like, that's, you know what I mean? Like, without anything. And you could just be any random person. Like, that's insane to me, bro. Like, when I saw that, I was like, holy shit. Because mind you, like,
that's all.
We grew up in the city.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
You know what I mean? We grew up in the city. Like, we never saw flea markets like this. Like, I never seen shit like this. You know what I mean? And then you see a gun show where there's tons of people and there's guns everywhere. Like, dude, like, who needs this many guns, first off? And then I could just buy one because it's a person-to-person sale. Like, that's crazy. And then people are like, oh, but the gun show loopholes are, like, dude, like, you can't tell me it's a lie when I've literally seen it. Like, with my own motherfucking eyes. Like, I saw that I could buy this gun right now and leave. I don't have to wait. This fucking gun show is here Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. There's no 3-day grace period. You're not going to be back here. This is going to be a fucking fair or youth fair or something on Tuesday. So there's not going to be guns here then. So I buy this gun and I walk out with this gun, and that's it.
And if you don't buy it that weekend, you follow the gun show where they go to the next weekend or the 2 weeks after that. They just pop up everywhere.
Every weekend.
And I mean, no one says, I don't think we should have any, only because I've lived, right? I lived in Korea.
Yep.
We visited Europe, places that don't have guns. I feel safe. Even in some neighborhoods that maybe weren't the worst thing that could happen would be I'm going to get into a fist fight unless somebody pulls a knife or something.
Yep.
That's it.
Yep.
Like I remember being a stupid teenager in Miami and walking through some alleys that I shouldn't have, and I got into something with with a homeless person before. But like you don't know what anyone is carrying.
Nope.
These other places where they don't have guns, like law enforcement has guns. Everyone else, like, okay, worst case scenario, someone's got a knife or a pipe or something, but like they're,
yeah,
you know what I mean?
You have the ultimate weapon. Like a pipe isn't going to get to you before a bullet does. You know what I mean?
Right. And so like over here, I don't feel certain times, like certain neighborhoods or a certain time of the night, it's like, okay, I can't be here. I can't be there. And that's regardless of like, if it's a majority white or black neighborhood, like you just certain times, people get drunk. You don't know who's carrying. If someone got patted down or didn't get patted down, like you
don't know. And the thing is,
don't know.
And
I don't like living like that.
And that thing is, like, most people are carrying, right? Like, there's, what is it, like, I'm gonna guess that there's like 340 million people in the country. There's like 375 million guns. So that's at least what 1.5, 1.3 guns per person. I don't know how you do the math on. That's just me. Like so that's pretty much everybody. You know what I mean? So like,
yeah, but 80% of them are where you live, right? You live out in the sticks, so all your neighbors have all the guns.
My neighbor next, like literally across this fence, has like his own shooting range. Like he shoots every single day. Like, and he has all the guns. Mind you, this is some real shit. He doesn't leave his property, right? He has guns on his golf cart. Like he has 2 AR-15s. This is some real shit, John. Like 2 AR-15s, like mounted behind him, and 2 like handguns. He has a golf cart, 2 handguns hooked up to his. Like, hey, bro, I have 8 other neighbors. I'm the youngest person. Me and my wife are the youngest people by like 45 years. You know what I mean? Like, what are you expecting here, bro? Like, nobody, first of all, we live off a dirt road. People don't even know we live here. The map doesn't show our house. You know what I mean? Like, you've arrived and you're like at the end of the road. You're not even on my property. You know what I mean? Like, what? Like, that's the type of, like, why do you need, like, for what, bro? And again, like I say that again, I have a gun, like, because you just don't know. But I also don't want to drive around in a golf cart with handguns and AR-15s behind me when I never leave my property. Like, that doesn't make me feel safe. That, if anything, would make me feel scared. And then there's that aspect of it, of people wanting to and hoping something happens, so they get to justify the tens of thousands of dollars that they spend on guns.
Yeah, what if that neighbor of yours sees you and he doesn't recognize it too?
Yeah. What if he starts losing his mind?
It's late at night or what?
What if he starts losing his mind because he's older? And you know what I mean? And he has, like, nobody's checking on him just to make sure he's clear head and clear mind. So what if he does see him?
Yeah, no one's going to get. Look, I'm a realist. No one's guns are getting taken away in this country.
Absolutely not.
In my lifetime, if not ever. No. So that argument, that's not a real argument. No one's taking anyone's guns away, but we should have some kind of. There should be some protections against people that that are going to buy these guns that shouldn't be because they want to harm themselves or others. That's not an outrageous statement.
No.
Right?
It's not.
You got to get a fucking license to drive a car.
Yeah. You can kill people with a car.
Yeah, but you got to take a license and a written test.
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't pass that shit. Oh, well, come back in 6 months or whatever it is. Like,
exactly.
But you want to give someone a gun.
Yeah. Like, without question.
With nothing.
With nothing.
Here.
With a little receipt. It's crazy.
Yeah, with a receipt.
So I want to we can wrap it up with this. Like, I want to kill all the myths of gun owner excuses, right? Oh, it's mental health. Mental health in 2016, it actually became easier for people with mental health issues, like people who aren't able to take care of themselves, to buy guns. There hasn't been any new laws passed to take away people with mental health issues to make it harder for them to get guns. It's actually easier for them to get guns. Video games do not cause mass shootings. Okay, let's just get that cleared the fuck up right now, bro. Nobody playing Red Dead Redemption is saying, "Yo, man, I want to go shoot up my." That shit just doesn't happen. Because you played that game is not why you want to do that. It's just not. There's something mentally wrong with you, which nobody cares because nobody gives a fuck that you're mentally ill because you can't afford the health care that you could get the help with. So it doesn't. You know what I mean? It doesn't fucking matter. Yeah, I'm tying all this shit in together, and what you're doing at the end of the day is you're putting more cops at risk because you don't take care of those people who are mentally ill that also are being afforded the possibility to buy a gun, because you go buy a gun much easier than you can get health care. That you can afford going to see the therapist every week. Because if you're broke or lonely, you can't drive to the therapist because you might not have a car. What are you gonna do? Get on the bus? What if you don't have money for the bus? These all things are intertwined. You have to start peeling back these fucking layers and going, man, like we should probably do something more than just thoughts and prayers. Because all of that is bullshit. All
thoughts
of it.
And prayers. That's hilarious.
I'm a shit on thoughts and prayers. Listen, I hate thoughts and prayers so much, it's made me be less religious. That's how much I hate that slogan, bro. I'm going to get shit. My mom's going to watch this. She's going to give me shit. Oh, you're less religious now? Yeah, Mom. Thoughts and prayers don't mean shit when 40 people are killed at a concert, man. It doesn't mean anything. People are at Walmart. You can't go to Walmart and hope. Like, dude, like there's a better chance you said something that we'll never see guns being taken away or even any kind of gun control. There's a better chance, John, that we get killed in a mass shooting than gun control happens. Like that, like realistic, like that's a higher possibility than any kind of gun control.
Yeah. I took my son to the air show for Labor Day a few weeks ago, and my wife was thinking the same thing. She's like, "What if something happens?"
Yeah.
Like there are going to be a lot of people out there. It's the Cleveland National Air Show. And I was thinking the same thing. You don't know. No one's getting checked. That's for sure.
No. There has to be a sobering thought. But people, if they watch this or they listen to this, because I'm going to post this to everything, I'm going to be the guy who hates guns. None of that is anything of what I said. None of that, right? Like, because that's what they'll do. They'll edit it down like, oh, he just wants to take, those liberals want to take your guns away. Never said that. Again, I don't want my gun taken away, but I did everything required by the state and by law to get my gun. All I'm asking is that people do the same thing I did. That's it.
That you make it a requirement for everybody to do that. That's it.
That's it. Don't make it easier.
What's wrong with being on a register or the government or somebody saying, okay, this person owns a gun and they're due for a reevaluation in a year? Again, it happens with everything. It happens with your license.
Yep.
If someone has mental issues, because shit happens, right? You might be good 1 year and you get your gun 3-4 months from now, you have a life event, you lose your job, and then now you don't have health insurance and you're going fucking crazy. And you have a gun.
Yeah.
There should be some kind of certification or recertification to ensure that people are still in the right frame of mind to, I don't.
Yeah, it shouldn't be carte blanche, right? Like you just don't get it and then, okay, you're good. Like, no, man. Like, yeah, a life event can happen. You could lose your job. Your wife can leave you. Your husband can leave you. Something happen. You know what I mean? Anything can make you snap. And you shouldn't just be, you know what I mean? If you're fired under extreme circumstances, you know what I mean? Like cops should knock on your door and have, you know what I mean, and have a conversation with you, because that keeps it keeps the cops safer. It keeps the first responders safer. It keeps everybody safer. When you pay better attention, you're more vigilant. It's not to say that the government needs to watch everything you do, but if you sound any of the alarms prior to a shooting, somebody needs to be there. Be like, yo, man, we need to go check out Ryan. We need to go check out Joaquin. We need to go check out all these. You know what I mean? So on and so forth. Given what are the?
I'm glad you threw a Latino name in there. I thought you were gonna be like, Ryan and Todd and Scott and Jeffrey.
I mean, I would, but they know, right? Like, they know. It's never been a Joaquin. Like, it's never been an Alexis. You know what I mean? Like, it's never been Ariel. It's never been one of the, like. No, I don't remember one. You? The only one, the DC sniper, and in Tampa we had a guy that was kind of like a went around shooting, and he worked at McDonald's. Other than that, I can't think of that many.
But it's funny because people will find the exception and they'll say, no, there have been. Look, these 2-3 guys out of how many?
You know what the exception is? Chicago. That's the response to everything.
But look at Chicago.
Yeah, but look at Chicago. But what about Chicago? What about this black on black crime? That's not an answer to the question, right? Like that doesn't answer anything. Like, hey, look, maybe we should have these laws in place to check and balances, all these other things. But what about Chicago? But bitch, we're in Miami. Like, what does that have to do with anything? Chicago doesn't directly affect me. You know what I mean? Like, you live in Ohio. Chicago doesn't directly affect you. There was just a shooting.
That's why we're states. That's why we're states. You're able to implement your own laws and rules that are separate from different other
shout out
states.
to the people who think Chicago is a state, though, right? Like, there's a lot of people who think Chicago is a state. So shout out to them. We're definitely talking about you when you bring up the example of Chicago, bro. You just had a shooting in Ohio, not at the same time, that same weekend of the Texas shooting.
Bro, look, my wife and I, the whole family went to Europe for 3 weeks. Right. And our last week there, we were in Spain, spending it with family and stuff. And as we're getting on the plane, we're leaving Madrid, and I just look up at the news, and I see that those 2 shootings happened like within a couple of days of each other.
Yeah.
The one in Texas and then the one in Ohio.
13 hours.
Yeah, less than a day.
Yeah.
And the one in Ohio, which was 3-4 hours from where we live, and I looked up and I was like, that's what we're headed back to. The vacation is definitely over.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we're going back to. Like for 3 weeks, I didn't think about guns, people getting shot up, about any of that. Like the worst. What do people tell you when you go to Europe? Keep your wallet in your front pocket because you might have pickpockets.
You might get pickpocketed.
Right?
Yep.
But what was it? What is it when they tell you when you come to the States? Oh, don't visit certain neighborhoods. Don't go here past 12 o'clock.
Yep.
You might get shot up. This, that, the other. Like those are the different warnings to people that come to the States and people visiting Europe.
100%.
Some pretty stark difference of what you got to watch out for.
Yeah, exactly. Did you go to a game when you were in Europe? Let's end this on a high note. Did you go see any soccer or anything, or you were there in the off season, huh? Yeah.
Yeah. I was there in the off season. I didn't get to see any games. But we're going back. I mean, I have family there. That was the first time I had seen them physically in 20 plus years.
What part? So they were in Madrid?
I have family in Valencia.
Okay.
And then Alicante, which was, Valencia is like, I think 3 hours, 2.5 hours from Barcelona.
Yeah.
Where the real soccer team was at.
Watch your fucking
football.
mouth, sir. Watch your. First of all, you don't have a real soccer team without one player. All right. You lose Messi, like Madrid lost Ronaldo. That team is garbage. Let's just, because they played the last 3 games without. I think they got like 1 point. Or no, they got like 3. No, they tied 1. They lost 2. They're not a good team without Messi. All right, listen. We got to experience LeBron.
And you're the general manager now.
Yeah. No, first of all, if I was general manager, I wouldn't let Ronaldo go. I would have sold Bale and Benzema. Let's just be clear on that. I would not have kept those motherfuckers. But yeah, man. I saw them play live. I get to say a little bit of we. I got to see that. I got to see it Bernabeu. I stayed
fair enough
half a mile from there. So yeah, I got to see Ronaldo play. So I'm good. Like, yeah, I can say we, bitch. I've been there. I got the pictures. I got the bill of sale. I got the bill of sale.
Hey, I don't know about that. You got the receipt? I know you got a friend that's good with Photoshop.
Yeah,
so
I don't know. Yeah, I got the receipts. I got the receipts. I got the damn tickets for the metro and everything. But yeah, man, it's just madness, bro. Like it's people who don't want to have a genuine conversation about a lot of shit. It's just crazy. Politics. That's why, like I said, I started this with.
This is what it was. All this is politics. We're talking about guns and talking about cops, but it's all just politics, right?
Yeah, it's all just politics. Yeah, but you know one thing we didn't talk about.
I want to talk about the family.
Yeah, one thing we didn't talk about, which I'm thankful, we didn't mention Trump. You know what I mean? Like we did in a whole podcast, and we didn't mention that name. So, and we're not going to mention it. We're not going to go into it because it's unnecessary and it's exhausting.
Yeah, I mean, what he does or what they do at that level doesn't really affect us until it does. But really, like these issues that we're talking about,
that we talked about,
do with him.
Yeah, exactly. He has his Twitter handle won't affect anything that we do here. So
yeah.
But yeah, man. Yo, man. It's good talking to you, my brother. We'll catch up again. I'm telling you, man, Son and a Half is the name of your podcast, bro. Son and a Half.
No, he likes it. I like the sound of it.
Because look, your name's already Miami's Lost Son on Twitter. You know what I
Right.
mean? And all social medias. It just works, bro. Because he's half your size, Son and a Half. You can only say this for a limited time. Because pretty soon he's gonna pass you. And then you're fucked.
And it's a given. He went to the doctor. The doctor told him he was going to be taller than me. So as soon as he saw me, because I didn't go with him to that appointment. He goes, "Hey, guess what, Dad? When I'm 20, this is how much taller I'm going to be than you."
I feel like
you little shit.
I feel like you should have called you a bitch. I feel like, hey, guess what, bitch? Instead of Dad, hey, guess what, bitch? I'm taller than you.
And then I would have put him in a headlock.
Because you still can now without a step ladder. I said because you still can now before, because you won't need a step ladder. All right, my brother. Good talk, man.
All right, man. Good talking to you.
See ya. Thanks for listening to the Man Chatter Podcast with your host, as always, Ben Borges. Till next time, peace.